What are some things that you want to do as as president to kind of slow this thing down?
Yeah, the climate change, we have to do a whole lot more. I just released a 5-point plan, which includes some of the stuff you probably hear from other places, which is try and move towards renewables. The big piece of the puzzle is that 85% of the world's emissions are from non-U.S. sources. Yeah. So if you want to try and curb emissions in a serious way, then you have to go to Africa and say to them, that coal-burning power plant that China's installing for you for free? I'm going to try and convince you that these solar panels and wind turbines are a better option. And so then you have to subsidize that to a very high degree if you're going to make that competitive. The third thing is that we should be trying to make our communities more resilient and literally and figuratively move our people to higher ground where if there's a hurricane, who suffers? Poor people who don't have great shelter or cars they can get into to drive away. And anyone who thinks this stuff is a little doom and gloom, we're already moving climate refugees in the United States. We already took a town of people in Louisiana where their land had essentially become underwater and uninhabitable. And we said, well, it's time to move you. So if we're doing that there, then we should start looking at other places where, frankly, that's starting to happen. And it's happening in more and more places around the country, not just Louisiana. The fourth thing is that we have to try and undo some of the damage we're doing. So that involves reforesting tracts of land. It involves trying to repair some of the oceans by seeding plankton beds. It sounds a little far out, but 4 to 8% of marine life in the Atlantic Ocean is dying now every year. So if you extrapolate that over time, you're talking about massive, massive problems. And so we can't just try and do less of the bad. We have to try and undo some of the damage. So those are some of the plans I have on climate change. I just released a $5 trillion plan to try and take those steps.
These are things that I'm assuming you've worked with scientists or something, but correct me if I'm wrong. You said it's already 10 years too late, though, right?
It's 10 years too late to keep the Earth from warming.
Okay.
The Earth is going to warm. It is already warming. The last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded history, which sounds like a remarkable coincidence. I mean, it's not a coincidence. It's because the Earth is warming. July was the warmest year in recorded history. So when I say it's 10 years too late, it's 10 years too late to keep the Earth from warming in a significant and measurable way. It's never too late to start trying to repair damage, make our communities more resilient, make your economy more sustainable. There's a proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. It's like one of those situations. Okay. Like, should we have done it 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Of course. In the absence of having done that, do we need to take dramatic action now? Yes.
Essentially, you're also providing more jobs, like infrastructure jobs for people to build.
Yeah, I was just this is going to sound so politician-y, but I was just with this entrepreneur, Ned Reynolds, in New Hampshire, and he now has 260 solar installers working for him. Who are just putting panels on people's roofs. And that's a really good job. And we need it. And it's going to make us more energy efficient. And it's going to lower people's heating bills. So it's just a win-win-win. Those are the kinds of jobs we need to be creating in very large numbers.
Higa.